Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I gotcha.
I can't see everyone, so I know that's Christopher, and I'm assuming that's Ann at the end over there.
Hey, Veronica, I can hear you.
Okay. Who's next to Ann? Who's next to Ann? I can't hear you guys. Oh my God. Hello.
I can hear you just fine.
I know. Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Fine.
Dylan, can you hear me?
Hey, Veronica, I can hear you.
Okay. So who's next to Ann? Oh my gosh. Hi, Nancy. How are you? Hi, Lieutenant Nichols again. Chance? Chance? Hi, can you hear me?
Veronica, yes.
Who's next to Ann?
We got Ann, we got Mr. Bill, Mr. River Place All-Star Bill.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are stacking the deck with River Place reps. Well, I don't know if I like that, man.
Is there anyone next to
The
Christopher?
office committee.
No, not on this side, Veronica.
Okay.
Veronica, we got Bill and Chris, Terry, Christina, and Dylan.
Okay, thank you. Guys, don't forget to talk into your microphones, please.
Veronica, with David out, we need a majority of 7. All right,
Yeah.
cool, thanks.
Is David officially out?
No, Sam, I saw the other day that. The allocation of funding. Saw that. There was a meeting that- Yeah, it's flood resilience.
We need two more, Tom. Hi, how are you?
Good, Brian. How are you doing today? Sorry, one of my meetings got moved around, so I gotta do this remote, but. Did I just see an email from you? Is there something?
Yeah, I send it again because we was
Gotcha,
on quorum.
gotcha.
Hey, Tom, I was about to tell you, I think we're waiting on one more, but it looks like Ray just became our one more.
All right, and we're in good shape. Yeah, sorry, something got moved around with my meeting schedule, so I have to do this virtually because I got another one right after this.
We have quorum, Tom.
Hey. And since we have quorum, we will call the meeting to order.
Should be, yeah, September minutes. Hey, Tom, before you ask for approval of the minutes, looks like there's a correction needed on the agenda. Looks like it should be approval of the September 22 minutes and not the June 22 minutes.
Gotcha.
That was
that-
my mistake, I believe.
Veronica, is that what you just sent out, the September instead of the June, whatever?
Yes, we didn't have, we had a meeting in September, not in October.
All right. All right, then we will need a motion to approve the minutes for September. If there are no corrections or comments.
I did have a comment. I don't know if this is the time to bring that up, but I think we were gonna get an MOU from peer consultants. And either I missed it or it didn't get sent out, but we had a presentation from them. And I don't think any of us had read the documents.
I believe I sent those out right after the meeting, but I'll check again.
Okay, and I could have totally missed it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second,
Second, Ray.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hey,
Sounds like-
Nancy, I just checked my email. It looks like Veronica sent that out to the group on September 16th. If you need it again, we can forward it back out.
Okay, I will check my si- notes on the 16th. I'm at the 15th right now, but that was very fast, Veronica, next day, huh? If I didn't get it, I'll let you know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Veronica. I guess is there any public there for comment?
No public here, Tom.
No public, so we can skip over that and go to new business. Budget adjustment, street outreach. So I'm guessing I'm turning that over to Chance.
Tom, I'm gonna pass that one to my right to Christina to kind of brief.
Okay.
on that one.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we are seeking to request an adjustment to the current budget to increase the salaries for Jack Morse and James Slay. With Jack Morse, we're currently facing a challenge with New Hanover County DHHS's new street outreach hires and the competitive salaries that they are offering their workers. And as you know, the county is modeling what they're doing, sort of what we're doing here in the MSD with Jack Morse. And is turning to us for training and for just mentorship of Jack. So the new county workers are making roughly $55,000 a year. Jack Morse is currently making $43,680 a year. I would like to bump his salary up to $55,000 a year. On the other side of that, our operations manager, James Slay, is just over $56,600 a year. So I would like to bump up his salary to $60,000 just to make sure there's a gap between our MSD leader and the rest of our team. With the billing rates from block by block, we would need to find an additional $19,836.86 within the budget. I'd like to propose shifting some funds around from the physical appearance line items in our budget. So we had originally set $10,000 away for alleyway activation funding, which currently we have no use for. $6,000 was originally set aside for weather-related events. However, we have enough salt to get us through the winter season and until the next fiscal year's budget. And I don't see any other issues that our team would be called on to really spend money on any type of weather-related events. And then also $2,000 from the landscaping fund, which we also don't have a current use for. And if we do, we can always work with the city and just put in the manpower and hours to do updates to the beds around the city come spring. We also have a surplus in hours, so we're under budget for the ambassadors program. So we can utilize some of the funding for that as well. We've got about anywhere from projected 8,000 to 14,000, depending on the usage for the winter, in a surplus of budget hours and the costs associated with that. So I would like to save some of that money in case we need to increase our ambassadors programs hours this summer. So I would like to propose a shift in these funds to support these salary increases. The challenge is that we will have to budget and plan for that next fiscal year. So some of these programs that we have now, alleyway activation or weather or what have you, will have to come time for the budget for next fiscal year, we'll have to make some adjustments. We also have to consider 3% salary increases each year over the 5 years of our city contract in order to be able to support our entire team. So these are our challenges. This is what I'd like to propose. And Chance, I'll turn it over for you for additional comment. Or questions.
And I have no problem. I just want to go back. City is tight with the MSP. Basically, so we didn't want to go there.
Is Christopher's microphone on?
Yeah, or could he lean up a little bit? Please,
Okay, sorry.
there you go.
I go back to, that the city required a quarter percent increase in the budget. Now that goes into effect when? Next year or now or when?
It was July 1st of this year.
So it
that went up.
is, so.
So it's in effect.
So it is going in effect. So is some of that already factored in to help this situation for next year?
No, that
it
all
is
went to
not
the
that.
cop, to the two full-time police officers.
Yeah, so I don't have the total amount that was allocated, but the MSD's budget through WDS contract was 562,000. And the remainder of that went to fund the 2 police officers allocated to the MSD. So it was another $80,000+, I think. So 700 and some change.
Okay.
On that note, Christina did a pretty good job of what we're looking to do here and what WDI is recommending. One point she does bring up is a great point, and it's really open for discussion. And I'll add some of my thoughts to it. The 18,000 that is being proposed to the 2 salary positions, needs to be sustained. I don't think anyone's going to look to take this away from those 2 employees come July 1st of next year. So as you look at next year's budget, it's, where that money's coming from. If that budget were to stay the same at $562,682, then, there's going to have to be either hours cut or some of the line items reduced, such as the physical appearance line item and the weather related event line item. But on that note, I will say, I haven't seen the final numbers, but if you recall, I think the city manager presented out on some of the Brownsfields agreements and kind of how those values are resetting over the next 5 years. There is more money coming in from the property tax values. I don't have that number in front of me. Now the MSD would only get, 7 point whatever cents per $100 of that value and the variance of that value. But I would feel pretty comfortable with that. We would see another 18,000+ coming to the fund to help sustain this for next year. Now, ultimately, that's city council's decision to allocate that back to the MSD contract versus, an expansion of the police program or something else. But I feel confident that funding would be there. So long as the MSD recommends it, we present it to council, we should be okay.
And then also Chance and I have talked at length about the alleyway activation funding and, we will consider that once the city, I guess, decides what it wants to do moving forward for its alleyway improvement project. And I think as we mentioned, we could do like perhaps a one-time allocation if needed to do any improvements. So we could take this out of the budget. Now we could always keep it as well. If you all feel that there needs to be some MSD or MSD funded projects within that, grants or what have you. But that's another thing to consider when looking at our scope.
Yeah, so there was 10,000 allocated and budgeted for kind of an additional on top of what the city may be doing with its alley activation project. We're still not there, unfortunately. That's why Christina and I discussed, I feel pretty comfortable cycling that or shifting that money over currently. When the city is ready, there's an active civil plan and an approved plan from council and a path forward. If the MSD wants to fund kind of some above and beyond, whether it be artwork or furniture or whatnot to any potential city alley activation plan, you guys can use fund balance, each year, in addition to say that 562,000 or whatever that annual allocation ends up being next year. For one-time uses, we can dip into fund balance each year for special type projects such as the alley activation. So there's a reserve out there. I think right now we're 300,000 and some change sitting there in the MSC fund balance for some of those one-time type uses. So
Bottom line is I don't think we want to lose the operation manager check.
absolutely, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, my only question is, do we need to go all the way to 55,000? Do we need to match the county? Or would an increase of, say, 10% or 15% be sufficient to keep this employee?
Can I speak to that? So it doesn't look like, we already have a problem with our police force and fire department. The kind of, I mean, it's better, but they were far underpaid compared to other municipalities, and the kind of on the street, the comment was, we train them really well, and once they're trained, they're taken away. And I know Nichols is not going to say anything too loud there, but we don't want that to happen anymore. I don't want to lose Jack. I don't think anybody downtown does. We're getting our hands around the problem. And I think we'd be at risk because he has a great reputation at the county level too. And the benefits are probably a little bit better at the county as well. We aren't even addressing that.
Yeah. I agree, Terry, for sure.
And I mean, yes, the salary increases and what the salary set is up to this committee's discretion. Absolutely. And we can fund Jack. We don't have to fund James. Right now, we can lower the cost. I mean, that's completely up to you guys, but I've looked at these salaries pretty heavily, and this is what WDI would recommend in order to retain its employees thus far.
I appreciate that. It just seems like a 20% salary increase is rather unusually large.
Oh, and two, we also have to remember this was started as a pilot program. It was a 1 year, one-time, pilot program that was a tremendous success. And the city decided to keep it within its 5-year MSD contract with WDI. And so, the salary was started very low, I think, with market trends and things like that. And what Jack does on a day-to-day basis, he's not sitting in an office. He's out on the street working with our most vulnerable population. He has a knowledge and a relationship with the folks all across downtown that is pretty miraculous. He's had knives pulled on him before. He's had shots swung at him. This is it's not an easy job.
High risk job.
Mhm.
But basically what you're explaining though is that what you're going, and when you talked about a particular figure, it isn't necessarily just because there's a jump. You're doing it based on market. The market says a person in that particular position is more likely to be paid that amount of money. That's the way initially, as you were addressing, that's the way I interpreted it. I didn't interpret it as more than anything than that, really.
I would agree. If the county's setting it at that level, then it's probably off of market research.
Mm-hmm.
I would just put forward that of all the things that the block by block program, WDI and the MSD is doing, valuable things that we do downtown. And if it's just matching the county to keep him, then yeah, we need to do that. He's certainly worth his weight downtown. I mean, that's the biggest complaint that I ever got from homeowners, and in particular, a lot of the single women that live downtown, is just the homeless population. And Jack has been able to reach out to these guys, maybe not relocate them, but certainly make them less aggressive and help us get out in front of anybody that's a problem. So just as far as livability downtown, the homeless population was the biggest complaint that I got, far and away. And that has stopped being so vocally the case, at least. So I'm pro Jack for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, McKay. Well, I've had the exact same comments. Several residents have talked about moving out, can't walk their dog at night because the husband's not, is working nights now, and the wife has to walk the dog, so I agree. We should absolutely match, if all we have to do is to match what the county's paying to keep him, that's a no-brainer to me.
On one side comment, it would be nice if the county were to get somebody of that quality, maybe they could clean up some of the homeless around the library. Which is still a significant problem, and I understand the city can't really do anything there. And that's where the majority of the homeless seem to be spending their nights.
Question, Christina, just for the group too. The 3% increase that you noted for the block by block contract, would there then be 3% on top of the 18 that we're essentially putting into salaries now next fiscal year? Or would do you think these salaries would stay static through next fiscal year?
That would be something I need to talk to Karen about.
Okay. Just for budget projection and budgetary purposes for next year, because that's another, probably another 12,000 for the 3% on top of what's already budgeted, then another 3% on top of the 18 salary differences. So it might just be good information to have. Sure.
And didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we get the city to agree with the allocation, the funds going toward the 2 police officers said that it would be reduced over we had asked that it not, in other words, that we wouldn't be financially responsible year after year. And that it could be carved back some. I remember that dialogue.
Say that again, Terry. Sorry.
That like this year was at 120,000 that came out of our budget for the police officers. That next year it would be less, and the year after that it would be less. We had asked for a carve back on it.
I don't think their salaries change that's being allocated, and
Yeah, I don't think it was.
I think what potentially could get carved out is the rate. I think as the tax base grows and that property tax base grows, and the rate could potentially get pulled back.
Okay.
I don't know that the salaries currently.
Yeah, I didn't think the
officers-
salaries changed.
She
but
said the percentage that MSD would fund.
would be less.
Percentage, yes, yeah.
Yes.
percentage. Correct, yeah, sorry.
And like you mentioned before,
Officers.
earlier too, Chance, once a couple of the tax abatements run off in the next 3 to 5 years, our number will go up as well as the cities.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Harry, I also remember that dialogue about a revisit in our role as advisory to council, looking at it in the future. And again, advising, we don't get the final call, but I would like at that point to also revisit progress on Chief Williams' point that they had 40 officer openings. At the same time, we were then asked to pay for 2, I guess 42. So that is something I would like to look at when we next advise.
Elizabeth, just looking at just the vacancies, the current vacancies that are within the police force, is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yes, Chance, when Chief Williams made the presentation to our committee, I recall he said at that time there were 40 funded open officer positions.
Got it, 10-4.
I think that all these programs that either the city or the police, I think nobody is objecting to that. Nobody objects to increasing the police force. Nobody objects to the outreach program. Nobody objects to the ambassador program. But it's very difficult with the MSD funding. It's because we're only advisory. And so we don't have the final say. And so monies can get dispersed elsewhere. Just like the other day, New Hanover County had a position to go forward with the public library. Now, how's that going to play with the city and MSD and things of that nature? So I guess my point is I think all these programs are justified. The question is, what pots are they going to be coming from? And I think there's been a distortion this last year's budget because there was almost unanimous that we would not cover these open vacancies. And it was put through by city council. Is there an opportunity in further dialogue to kind of move those monies around? But in the meantime, I think, I don't want to lose Jack and I don't want to lose the operations manager, bottom line, as one member of the advisory.
Tom, should we set a motion?
Yep. If there's no further discuss, well, yeah. So we need a motion to approve Christina's request to the city for increase to the salary.
I'd like to approve the motion, follow the recommendations of Christina.
And we have a second?
Can we read off the
Thank you.
exact motion, please?
Sure.
You want to read off? I think she wants us to read.
It's a
the
print
entire
based on your
motion.
recommendation, so if you can just summarize your recommendation.
Sure. Jack Morris, we're recommending that Jack Morris salary increases from $43,680 to $55,000 a year annually, plus the costs of billing rates from block by block, as well as raising James Slay's salary from $56,600 to or just over $56,600 to a $60,000 a year salary, plus the billing rates from block by block, for a total increase of just over $19,800 to be moved from the physical appearance portion line item of our budget.
This would be the alley activation. That was $10,000 that we're removing.
$10,000 from
Okay.
alleyway activation.
And sitting on that for 2
$6,000.
years anyway. And yes, and the bad weather fund, we did not, thank God, need that this year. So that was 6, I believe. And where was the other money coming from? I don't recall.
It was close to $2,000 from the landscaping fund. And using surplus hours.
And
That
I'll
we're-
second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Hey,
you all very
Tom.
much.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Mhm.
I've got to get off on a couple minutes. Is there anything else we need to vote on?
I was just looking at that, Ray, because I got to jump off here myself in about 5 minutes.
I don't think so. I think that's the only action item.
Yeah, just reports. So thanks, Ray.
Hey, Chance, you said, we got somewhere around 300,000 in our fund that we put. Is there like a list of things that that we're allowed to do with that money? And things that we're not allowed to do with that money?
I don't know that there's a specific answer to that, Ray.
Can we take
think
it and put it in the alleyway, like right now?
Yeah, a good example of what it has. The only thing, I believe the two things it's been used for now, granted, I'm recent in this role. I think the only two things the MSD's used its fund balance for was the tree well, the flex pay for the tree well. And I believe weather-related cleanup back post Florence, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not aware of any other fund balance uses, but I
All
think
these
it's pretty.
fund balances are leftovers from previous years, I remember.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
pretty open-ended. I think the only thing.
Can we move them into our budget, to take and fill in those gaps that we just, took away?
Normally fund balance is utilized for one-time, uses, one-time purpose. If we say in, February of this year, the committee says, hey, we want to use 20,000 for alleyway activation, whatever it is, lighting, and there's a specific plan, we can go to council and have them appropriate that fund from fund balance into the MSD's operating budget. You can do it mid-year, you can do it mid-cycle, you can project it out for the next fiscal year, but it has to be appropriated by council.
Do you have a minimum it's required to stay in the account? No,
I think
last time-
it's 20-some%, and I think,
Mhm.
we're way above that number currently.
Chance, I think, some money was allocated to Downtown Alive a few years. ago.
Correct. Yeah, you might be correct. So Ray, a good example would be, right now we just shifted, those 2 to 3 line items into the clean and security, right? So basically sitting there with 0 in physical, 0 in weather, and minimal left in landscaping, I believe. If the committee sees a use for the fund balance from here until June 30th of this fiscal year, we can go to council and make that request for an appropriation.
Okay.
Same thing with next year's budget. If, as we're going through the budget discussion for FY24, if we're hitting our allocated funding budget and there are one-time uses for a fund balance, we can bring that in the budget request.
So this is different, DBA gets a little check for 10,000 a year. And we have to use it toward economic development. Whatever we don't use, we have to give back, and then
Correct.
they get, but we don't have to do that with MSD funds. That's-
Correct. You
Okay.
give back, but you give back into the fund balance.
Oh,
So say
okay.
at the end of the
Okay.
year, so right now, an example would be, there's a total budget, $562,682. The end of June 30th, if we've got, the MSD has 30,000 that went unspent. That 30,000 goes into the MSD fund balance and basically sits there unused until there's a request to use that by the MSD committee or council.
That's good.
Basically a rainy day fund.
It's essentially a
Yeah.
rainy day fund.
CDB operated off of that during the really bad times that COVID.
Policy wise for the city, the only thing that normally fund balances aren't used for are salary increases unless there's a fund. Unless those increases are sustainable for the next fiscal year. So we couldn't have gone to council and requested a fund balance used for these salary increases, not knowing if we have the enough funding to sustain that without use of fund balance next year. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
gotta
Ray, if you come next month and say, hey, listen, MSD, I got a recommendation. I want to paint all the curbs yellow in downtown. Let's look at the fund balance. We can take that recommendation to council and request, 30,000 to paint all the curbs yellow, kind of thing.
Okay. Thank you.
I think before the next budget, obviously, and going forward in the new year, it seems to me that the MSD should, some members of the MSD advisory committee should sit down with the city and go over, because these are going to be future traps. It's going to happen going into next year. And it'd be nice to get a better sense of clarity. I mean, we were taken back by some of the funding that the city took to us, that we didn't consider would be ours. And there might be more of that going down. So it seems to me that because we're always dealing in public entities, multiple governments that kind of overlap, is to be able to sit down and have a kumbaya session with the city.
Sure.
And
What I had mentioned to Christina as a good plot moving forward each year, we're coming into the city's budget season. With kickoff is usually the 2nd or 3rd week in December.
right.
Those budgets are usually due to the budget office late January, usually the last week in January. What I've told Christina is, in most cases, city budgets are developed off of a baseline figure. And I've been told by the budget director, we should use that 562,682 base figure that we have for this year as next year's starting point, and have a baseline budget recommendation and then a baseline plus for any initiatives that the MSD wants to put forward and what we think that's going to cost.
Yeah.
And the reasoning kind of behind it, Now, ultimately, it is, as we learned last year, it's city council's final approval. You know, they are the ones that are approving those budget allocations. So, but I think it's helpful to have a firm recommendation, both baseline and baseline plus. And if the baseline plus for next year is the 3% salary increases or an additional ambassador for, you know, whatever purpose that might be, I think it's advantageous for us to have our recommendations together in a nice, clean format to present to council, to the budget office, to the manager's office at the very beginning to kind of help plan and let them know what the committee is looking to use this money for.
Chance, what is the relationship between the MSD tax and our budget?
So the MSD tax at 7.25 cents, that's tax per $100 of property value, funds a majority of the MSD budget. There's also a sales tax allocation for the greater downtown MSD area that also gets added to that taxable value. So it's two parts. It's the property tax value times the MSD rate, plus there's a sales tax allocation that gets added into that as well. I'm not sure what that percentage is between the split. It's a majority based on the property tax rate. But I don't know what that split is. I could get that answer for you. The assumption would be yes, especially as the brownfields agreements continue to reset over the next 5 years. Yeah, River Place being one of them that's going to be resetting here soon, I believe.
We already saw it.
But there is and I learned last year, I didn't know that there's a sales tax allocation that comes from the county that is allocated directly to, you know, the MSD portion of downtown. And it's a sizable dollar figure. It was over 100,000. So out of that 700,000+, that was all in with the MSD contract and the police salaries. 100,000+ of that was, you know, the sales tax allocation. You know, it's something too, and we think about it before the next meeting. You know, is it advantageous for us to think about a subcommittee just to talk budget? You know, maybe it's a 5-person committee or less with myself and Christina, you know, from mid-December to late January to kind of talk about past, present, and future of the funding and kind of the needs of the MSD moving forward.
And it would be good to work with the budget director, especially understanding the carbacks on the brownfields.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they could do a clear calculation.
Absolutely. We have projections on that, especially on the property tax side. I should be getting the current version of that very soon. We usually don't know, and I just asked this question last week. We usually don't know that final funding because of what comes in on the sales tax side with the county until March, April sometimes. So that's why they always recommend to kind of start with that base and have that baseline. And then as the total funding becomes clearer from, you know, February through end of March, we've got a clearer idea as to what the total funding is.
And the property tax across the board, we still had a lot of appeals going on. So I think they're probably all settled now. I mean, for overvaluation with this last. So if they could give us really what it ended up being would be great.
Did Thomas go?
Did we lose him?
Tom will be back.
He's coming back.
Yes.
All right.
While we're waiting, I've spoken with Chance about this too. I'd like to kind of simplify our budget next year and kind of break some things down a little bit more clearly in our budget so we can include a section for the street outreach and a section for our ambassadors split between clean and safe and just kind of make things a little bit more streamlined. And I'd love to be able to present that to you guys in various forms, but you know, I just need some time to work on that. And I think that I could do that before we all collectively do have a budget committee meeting.
Makes sense.
So Tom stepped away, so maybe we should hit pause for a minute since he's our chair and we currently do not have a vice chair.
Did you read it, vice chair?
I knew. That's not this one, that's the other one.
I've got Chance, I gotta run over to Thailand.
All right, got it.
We go to the board.
Lieutenant, while Tom stepped away, you want to just continue on with WPD's report, maybe?
Sure. Real quick, this afternoon around lunchtime, we helped Christina and her people, along with DOT, clean up under the bridge at 3rd Street. It was about an hour and a half long. It was a mess. So it's good right now for God knows how long, hopefully a little longer than normal. But also the graffiti, we're dealing with some graffiti. We've had some reports downtown through Jack and those guys at MSD, as well as a bunch of, we've had an increase in B&Es down at Hotel Ballast and along Front Street. We have some of our specialized units that are staying late, trying to put a beat on some of these guys that are doing that and identify them and get some charges taken out. Our 5 ABC officers that have been sworn with ALE or through ALE and the ABC Commission, they've started, they're in full force. They have done about 10 inspections right now over the month and written over 50 citations to some of these individuals and the patrons downtown, most of it being underage and some primarily alcohol violations. Our mounted unit is back day shift. They're back downtown walking around. So if you see them, we also purchased a new horse. He'll be probably full. He'll be able to come to work probably next week or the weekend. You'll see him. We have 5 e-bikes that have been purchased through a grant. So our guys down here can be in the downtown district and more approachable outside of their car and just, you know, being out there with everyone. And as for manpower issues, we have 10 officers that are being released next week that will be dispersed throughout the city to help with some of the shortages. And we have a class going on right now with the BLET that's, I think there's 15 or so in there right now as well.
Lieutenant, I got a question for you, and I think Nancy had asked this last month. With the MSD funding of the 2 officers this year that started, I think, July 1, are there 2 specific officers that have been, you know, allocated as the MSD 2, or is that funding kind of going to multiple officers filling those 2 roles each week or
No,
each month?
it's 2 individual officers. It's
Okay.
2, and they're primary. It's our 2 day shift officers right now that are MSD funded.
Cool, that's good to know. I didn't know that, so thank you.
Yes, sir.
It's good.
Christina, you wanna?
I like the idea of electric bikes. No, it is. Get them out of the cars. That's good. I like that. That's a good idea.
I don't know if Tom's coming back, so you might just want to just roll into your
Just
update.
say-
Yeah, just go
Okay,
for it.
all right. And yeah, just to piggyback off of Lieutenant Nichols now. Yeah, we work heavily with our MSD officers and Officer Ohl and Officer Irving. And they're amazing. And yeah, maybe I don't know, Lieutenant Nichols, maybe we should invite them to come in at a meeting, or one of them at a meeting, so we can all meet them and know their faces. But
I'll
they're-
drive next month.
But they really are wonderful and a pleasure to work with. We did do the cleanup today underneath the 3rd Street Bridge. As you all are very well aware, it's been an ongoing issue. And big concern of ours, big concern of the residents, big concern of the business owners and Cape Fear Community College, their students seeing the trash every day. So we executed a second DOT cleanup. They brought in the digger and a crew, and then we also partnered with some of the social services organizations around the city to come in. We had a huge volunteer group, plus the county brought their getting home project, their workers that they're looking to train to help pick up trash as well. So there was a huge group underneath the bridge today, and it's pretty neat to see the collaboration that's happening with this cleanup. You have a state agency, you have police, you have social services groups, county groups, the MSD group. So this is a huge collaborative effort between multiple folks, and we've been very thankful to have so much involvement with all of our partners. So we would like to see the accomplishments that they have had today continue. So I've committed our MSD teams to do 2 cleanups solely by our MSD ambassadors, our resources, and with Jack on board, and hopefully can get some of the social services volunteers that have been going out there to join us. So we're going to be doing one on December 1st from 12 to 2, and then on Thursday, January 5th from 12 to 2. James will provide an assessment of the time it takes our team to clean up following the NCDOT's effort today, and the materials we use for the cleanup, and the amount of trash, needles, and other biohazard removals that we have from the property. So we can kind of see and project month to month what the trash accumulation is like underneath the property. Our MSD team still does not have enough hours within its budget to conduct this regularly, but I'm hoping that the county can also step in along with DOT, and we can kind of get a schedule going where we're sending multiple crews underneath that bridge on a more routine basis, and maybe trying to reduce the trash issues down there, interact with the folks more that are sleeping underneath that bridge, and get them to the services they need and get the trash removed a little bit more heavily. So I'm hoping this will significantly benefit the MSD, its residents and businesses surrounding the bridge. And we just keep receiving complaints and questions about what we are doing. So I'm hoping that this one effort will kind of show that the MSD and the city is working to do something. So the next DOT cleanup will follow our 2 cleanups on February 16th. So we have month-to-month schedule. Hopefully the county can fall in line. Are there any questions regarding those efforts? All right. We have started our new off-season schedule, and it's going pretty well so far. So it's giving our ambassadors more visibility to our residents, business owners, and visitors during the winter months. The goal overall is just increasing visibility and improving the MSD team's chances for engagements during the slow time of the year, and also not staying out as late, since it's getting darker earlier, and we're trying to increase safety in those times. But the public's just not out as late as it has been during the week. So we will compare the numbers at the end of the month, but last month in October, our ambassadors recorded more than 4,800 hours 4,800 hospitality contacts, and contacts with 974 businesses. So we're looking to November to see how those increase and adjust the hours if needed. But we plan to continue this summer or this winter schedule until February or March, depending on if it's needed. And you know, with the hopes of adjusting the schedule again, once the summertime hits to a more to handle the hospitality efforts of the busy on summer season. As Lieutenant Nichols said, graffiti has been a major issue. In October and November. We saw a 50% increase in the graffiti that was removed by our team between September and October. So our team is staying on top of the areas in the core zone, in the alleyways, and on the streets and sidewalks. We just removed a big tag on the sidewalk this morning. So our team is taking photographs of that, and we will be conducting weekly reports that I'm going to send to Lieutenant Nichols to help aid their investigation into who is doing this. There's multiple tags, and we're keeping record of everything and removing the graffiti within 24 hours. In outreach, Jack made 554 interactions with 83 different individuals. We're still around an unhoused population that's actually sleeping here at about 70. You know, we continue to see success with him, and you know, and we're working with the county on getting some plans set for training to help with their Getting Home project. And it's just been a good collaboration so far. The county is doing a cleanup on the library property, either once a week or once every other week. I'm not quite sure just yet. So you guys will start to see some more cleanliness on the library site. They will send a contractor out there to clean. And then that, coupled with what we're doing under the bridge, hopefully we'll keep the city a little bit more clean from our homeless folks living downtown. And then we are just about $2,000 remaining in our facade improvement grant program for this fiscal year. So we have awarded several grants out, and I'll provide a presentation probably next time, Chance, on all of our FIG, either here or maybe after the first of the year, on all of our FIG grant awards. And I might even have the last 2,000 go before our grants committee, because we have applications coming in for that last bit of money already. So really excited about that program. We had $25,000 this year to allocate. So it's really helping a lot of the storefronts and storefront improvements that are happening all across downtown Wilmington. And then we are not really MSD related, but we still have some grant money left in our microloan program. We've issued $90,000 in loans for this fiscal year. And we've got $7,500 remaining in our microloan grant program. So if you all would help maybe spread the word about this program and how it can benefit the businesses. If you don't know too much about it, feel free to contact me, and I can walk you through the program and everything. So but it's been pretty successful thus far. So I think, and that's all for my updates, unless you guys have any questions.
That's good.
I have a question for Lieutenant Nichols. Reading the report, it seems like skateboarding is on the rise again. And I think I read somewhere in it that you issued 50 citations in the past month. What does the citation entail? Is it a fine, or are these kids paying it, or is it a warning?
Yes, ma'am. It's a fine, a court date. And like I said, majority of those are at nighttime for the underage possession. You know, the fake IDs, stuff like that. With the skateboarding, honestly, I haven't heard or seen that. And I'll get up with the guys and let them know as well that that's going on and as an issue.
Okay, it was in the monthly operations report, and it was just
Okay.
it was about double. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Bill speaking?
Yeah, he told me.
We can't hear you.
Chance asked about skateboarding at River Place, and I said, yes, it is going on. In fact, we've had some automobiles damaged by skateboarders losing control in the parking deck.
That was Kevin's. Right next to me. That's bad.
You're in the lucky spot, I guess.
Well, you know, the thing is, it's that, you know, you see like motorcycles coming down at night. And they got that long straightaway on the parking deck.
Yeah, so
You can see
it's,
all the black.
Yeah.
Marks at that joint.
all right, last but not least, city updates, and I'll make the quick lightning round. So we are out of here at 4 o'clock, which is an unspoken rule. Yeah. So Front Street project on the 300 block of North Front Street, engineering, very small update they gave me. The plan right now is to have the road open for the December 11th holiday parade. And after the parade, there should still be some additional streetscaping and landscaping items left. And I don't have a firm kind of finish soft opening date, but the street should be open at least by the holiday parade and minor items after the holiday parade.
Yes, I can adjourn the meeting. I'm sorry, guys.
Welcome back, Chairman.
Thank you. Sorry.
Nearby Bijou Park, the last item we were waiting on until the tropical storm hit a few weeks back was the electrical board and the permanent lighting. The update I had was electrical should be going this week. Bill has confirmed he did see some electricians on site. I've been told that should be permanently lit by the Thanksgiving holiday next week. So that would mean the remaining item would be the cleanup and the decision of what to do with the planting green wall there that took a tumble during the tropical storm at the end of September. So the last update I got was the city's risk insurance department was looking at it and trying to make a decision of number one, to just take it down and not to replace, or to replace and where to get that funding to replace that green wall. And last but not least, quick parking update next door, the 2nd Street parking deck rehab project. We're coming to a close. We're at a point of full demo of the west stairwell. That is fully demoed as of early this week. We should be rebuilding that stairwell over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And after that, the only remaining item is a full lighting LED retrofit of the entire parking deck. So good news that that one is coming to a close.
Great.
That's it on the city side. Parking meters on Front Street right now, we are holding back on putting the parking meters back until after Christmas holiday. So right now we're looking at probably first week of January. We've been kind of softly enforcing the 2-hour limits. Yeah. So we started, I think 2 weeks ago with a kind of a soft enforcement, writing only warning citations to those going over the 2-hour limit. We're kind of still doing a 1-strike rule. If you go over 2-hour limit for the first time, we're still writing warning citations, but if it's a second or third offense, it's a $25 citation. So felt it kind of a positive to give a break to those businesses and those 2 blocks, at least leading into the holiday season.
Yep, good deal.
And we thank you, by the way.
You want a motion to adjourn?
Yep.
There you go.
Second.
And as my predecessor said, stand up,
Who
get
motion?
out.
Christopher motion?
Bill, right?
I think
Yeah.
Bill did
It
it.
was Bill motion, Nancy second, I believe.
Mhm.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank
and
you.
be
Thanks,
safe.
guys. Again,
Happy
sorry I had to
Thanksgiving.
step out. Happy Thanksgiving all.
Bye-bye.